Good morning. It's Monday morning. I'm recording today because I couldn't record yesterday, and it takes a long time to upload the yoga. So, apologies for the truck sounds that you may hear. Various cars speeding by at illegal speeds on our road. But let's give it a shot. Come to standing tall. Lift yourself straight. Find your head slide back over your shoulders. Shoulders over your hips. Everything's nice and balanced. Refresh the natural bends in your back. Don't exaggerate them into slouches. Don't let your hips slide forward. Very common is to stand with hips forward, shoulders come back, and to compensate the shoulders round. Something you see a lot in people. They relax when they're standing. Standing completely straight is relaxing too. You just have to get yourself used to that again, like you were when you were young. And inhale, spin your arms up. And exhale, bring them down. At the same time, lift your chin. Inhale up. Exhale, drop your chin. Again. One last time. Put your hands on your hips. Spread your feet a little bit wider. Look down to your left. And then follow the natural ability of your neck. So don't force it. Roll back and around. Keep your teeth closed so your jaw is closed while you do this. 3 times to the left. And pause in the middle. Now, probably when you put your hands on your hips, you stuck your hips forward, right? So pull them back, stand tall. Let's do this going to the right. Look down and to the right and then circle up and around. Three times in total. And rest. Interlace your fingers, push them away from you, straighten your arms. Spread your feet a little bit wider for balance. Lift your arms straight overhead. Keep pulling them back. Tuck your belly in. Now lean to the left. You're trying to keep your arms straight as you can. And to the right. And forward. Try to bring your body parallel to the ground. Look over your hands. And relax. Let's do the warrior series. Left foot forward, right foot back. Gonna come to warrior 1. Turn your hips so that they're as square with the front of the mat as you can. The left leg is bent. The bottom of your leg is more or less parallel with the ground, right leg is straight. Put our arms behind our head now, interlace your fingers, and look up. Whoa, balance. And release. Bring the arms to cactus arms, pull them back. Well, my face is washed out in real life as it looks like in the photograph. I hope not. The sun is nice and bright though. And then interlace your fingers behind your back and pull your shoulders open, look up again. And release. Come to warrior two on this side. Spread your legs a little wider. Bend the front knee even more. Straighten the right leg even more. Push the outer edge of the right foot to the ground. Tuck your tailbone under so that you can engage your core. Arms come up. Look down, make sure you can still see your big toe on the inside or in front of your knee. If you have tight hips, the tendency will be for the knee to move inwards. You want to avoid that. Foot and thigh should always be pointing in the same direction in yoga. Drop the right hand to your thigh, lift the left hand up. Gaze into the palm of your left hand if comfortable. Come back to normal warrior. Then bring your left arm across your left thigh, turn to the side. Raise your right arm overhead and gaze into the palm of it if it's comfortable for you. Release. Let's step to the front. Take it out. Short warrior series on the right side. Take the left foot back, hips square with the front. Left leg is straight. I'm trying to find hollow so that my balance is a little bit better. Got a lumpy ground here. Interlace your fingers behind your head, look up. Release. Arms to cactus, arms pull actively your back, shoulder muscles. Pull your elbows behind you. Sometimes it helps to twist the hands like this so that you feel like you're leading with the pinky fingers. It's bright. Release. Release your fingers behind your back. Stretch. Open up. Look up if you can. And release. Let's come to warrior two. So extend your stance a little bit farther. Bend the right knee a little bit more. Roll the left thigh open. So feel like you're moving it in a circle around to the outside. Tuck your tailbone under. Raise your arms. Bring your left hand to your left thigh. Turn your right palm up. Reach up and overhead. Gaze into the palm if comfortable. Back to normal warrior two. Check your knee again. Make sure it's not tracking in. Your tailbone under. Let's come to extended side triangle. Cross your arm over your thigh. Left arm overhead. Gaze into the palm if comfortable. I'm not going to because the sun's right there. And release. Step to the front of your mat. Shake it out. Now turn to the side. Again, wide stance. Bend your knees if you need to in order to get your fingers to the floor. And here we're going to do some cat-cows. Drop the belly, lift the chin slightly to come into cow. On the exhale, arch your back. And go back and forth with your breath. Notice how the stretch in your hamstrings changes as you move your hips back and forth. So when you come into cow, your tailbone is tipping up. So when you hear me say that in other postures, this is what you're doing. And then when you come into cat, your tailbone is tipping under. And the effect you can feel on your hamstrings and your inner thigh. Two more times on your own breath. And one last time. Now reach your hands back so that your fingertips are in line with your toe tips. Again, if you need to bend your knees in order to be here, bend them, that's fine. And if you can't come any lower, obviously that's fine too. Otherwise, let gravity now work and pull you down. I sort of hang out here. My hands aren't really doing anything and I'm not pulling myself. I'm just letting gravity work for now. Walk your hands over to your right foot. Hold on to it if you can. And look at your knee. Walk over to your left foot and look at your knee. And then come back to the middle. Bring your fingertips in line with your toes again. This time engage your core to pull yourself even lower. So gravity is acting and your core is acting and you're tipping your tailbone up. Let your head hang. And release. Come back to halfway. Heel toe in a little bit. Put your hands to your hips. Inhale, come to standing. Come back to the front of your mat. Then we're going to go through a flow to get down to the ground. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway up, straighten your legs. Exhale, step to a high plank and sink down to low plank or all the way down to the ground. And either cobra or upward facing dog. If you're in cobra, push to table before going to downward facing dog. From upward dog, you can push straight to downward facing dog. And then come down onto your knees, cross your ankles, and roll over them to come to seated. Do a stretch for the front of our thighs, pull the right heel back, and then as far as everything here is still comfortable, slide your hips closer, and then if you like, lean back. And again, tuck your tailbone under to increase the stretch in the hamstring. Sorry, not the hamstring, the thigh. Release by rolling over to your left side. Take all the pressure off the knee, then undo it. Boy, this is gorgeous in the sun. There isn't a single mosquito. If it weren't for the trucks, I'd say do this every day like this. Left foot in behind. Scoot your hips over as much as you can and then lean back. Tuck your tailbone under. And release by rolling over to your right leg, undoing the left. Now I should have pointed out that whenever we do a stretch like that, if it's too much pressure on your knee, too uncomfortable on your ankles, you can do the same thing by lying on your side and pulling with your arm. Remember that then, please. I will hopefully remember too and remind you of that, but can't always guarantee these sorts of things. Bring the soles of your feet together, and then if your knees can stay close to the floor, shift your hips until you're right up against your heels. Grab onto your feet, let your knees drop down. At first we sit nice and tall. And as the hips open, you start leaning forward. Try to lead with your chin or your collarbones. And then pause, wait for the stretch to release. Remember, by pushing your knees out to the sides, that's how you get them down to the ground. Don't just squeeze your buttocks to move them down. And don't push on them either. As you're leaning forward, especially if underneath your mat is a relatively hard surface, you might find it comfortable to open your feet so that you're more on the side of your feet and not on the bony parts of your ankles. And keep on leaning forward. And then to release, sit up. Put your hands underneath your knees. Lift them. And now let's lie down. We're going to do a bridge pose. I'm going to describe it, and then you can move into it while I'm describing it. So lie on your backs. Bend your knees and bring your ankles as close to your hips as you can. So your knees are up in the air. And then push down with your feet and push your knees away from you to lift your hips up. Do that on the inhale. On the exhale, let your hips drop back down again. And then inhale, exhale, up and down. And on the third time, stay up. So stay up by pushing your knees further away from you, pulling your ribs over your nose. And if there's space, you can put your hands underneath your hips and hold yourself there. To release, remove your hands and just bring your hips down. Pick up your knees, squeeze them into you, roll on your back. Now extend your legs and your arms for corpse pose. Relax everything from your toes to the tip of your nose, the inside of your mouth, your tongue, let it relax, release. At the roof of your mouth, release. Your neck, your shoulders. If anything is tight, give it a roll, give it a wiggle. If you can't tell whether it's tight, then tighten it. And then you know where you're at, then you release and relax. Slowly bring some feeling back to your fingers and toes. Wiggle them. Pardon me. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, roll your ankles and your wrists. And then give yourself a nice squeeze. Roll around on your back and roll to your right hand side. And we'll stay there for another 30 seconds. Using just your arms, push into the ground. Come up to seated, let your head hang nice and heavy, your back is rounded. When you get to seated, you'll have naturally crossed your ankles one way, cross them the way that is not the natural way for you. Just to learn something different. With an inhale, lift the crown of your head again, stretch up towards the ceiling. Relax now, let your head slide back over the shoulders. The natural curves reform in your back. With an inhale, bring your hands together. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on this lovely Monday morning. Reminds me a lot of Indonesia. I was there in the early 90s. And it was always cool in the morning and moist on the ground. And as soon as the sun came out, the humidity levels just rose very quickly. That's what I'm feeling now. Memories of Asia. See you tomorrow.